The opportunity to be here today, and thank you all for the invitation. As James said, I'm Ed Smith, Director for the Office of Water Policy and Ecosystems Restoration with the Florida Department of Environmental Protection. My office is responsible for the implementation of the Innovative Technologies Grant Program that DEP puts forward each year. In addition to that, we work with all of the water management districts on water supply issues, meeting natural system needs, things like that. And also we're on the forefront of Everglades restoration for the state of Florida. We work with the Army Corps and South Florida Water Management District to make sure that all of our projects stay on schedule, on time, and are responsible to our natural systems needs. So next slide, please. So the Blue-Green Algae Task Force, they give the Innovative Technologies Program direction, and we take our initial direction straight from their document number 1. So in this case, what we're looking for all of our projects that we fund are something that is, innovative. Obviously, it's got to be a technology that is either new to Florida or used in a new way. We're looking for a lot of different ways to address harmful algal blooms. So we get to that diverse portfolio requirement that they have tasked us with. And of course, we're always looking for cost efficient, environmentally safe and scalable projects. We want to make sure that whatever projects we pick and put in place are not going to have unintended consequences, or at least minimize any of those unintended consequences to the best of our ability. Again, scalable. We want to be able to address any of the, no matter the size of the issue, we want to try to get to those things. And then, of course, we do focus heavily on projects that will prevent blooms from occurring. In the past couple of years, we've really focused on those projects that can reduce nutrients or prevent nutrients from getting into water bodies, so as to get to the source of the algal blooms themselves. We've also been tasked recently with searching for projects that can help us prevent or detect, forecast when a bloom might occur, to kind of give us a heads up so that we can better respond to those blooms when they occur, or learn where they're going to occur and do a better job of getting the right projects in place to prevent the nutrients from causing the blooms in the first place. Next slide, please. So our program was initiated as part of Governor DeSantis' Executive Order 1912, occurred in 2019. Prior to 2019, our response to harmful algal blooms, I would characterize as ad hoc. I was brought in 2016 to the bloom that was suffocating the St. Lucie estuary and the canals in that part of the state. At that time, we had no formal plan or structure for dealing with these. We were getting probably 20 to 30 different vendors a day coming to us with the solution. And so we were scrambling to come up with a methodology for screening these vendors out and making sure that we got a response together. We didn't have a lot of resources to support any emergency cleanup work. We didn't have a lot of the knowledge, but since 2016, with the help of a lot of folks from NOAA, from US EPA, from the Army Corps of Engineers, all of our water management districts in the state of Florida, a lot of stakeholders, we've learned a lot. We have a lot more information, and we're able to do a much better job of responding to these things as they come along. For our innovative tech program, we're looking for those emerging technologies, and to help us find those technologies, I've tasked the staff that came along with our funding to seek out, and so they have gotten involved with different stakeholder groups all over the country. Some of them are international. We're constantly getting in touch with different vendors to try to connect them with the right folks within the state of Florida to investigate their viability within the state of Florida. And so that's where we're focused. We're also, our focus is predominantly on freshwater. We really, until this current year, we've limited everything to freshwater. This past year, we were able to expand into kind of getting into estuaries. We still haven't gone beyond the freshwater cyanobacteria at this time, though. Next slide, please. So for our grant program, these are the top things that we look for. We're looking for, again, innovative technologies, new things, new technologies that we haven't seen before in the state of Florida, or if it's a new application of an older technology. Trying to think of a good case in point to provide as an example. Nothing comes to mind right now, but something will pop up. Again, we're also looking at those that that show that can truly, that have the data to show that they have the benefits to the ecosystem without environmental harm. So we avoid those projects that don't have any kind of backup data, even if it's just bench scale or study scale data to support their claims. And because of that, we are looking for projects that are scalable. We try to avoid bench scale, funding those bench scale projects, lab level projects. We're looking for pilot and bigger. We really like to focus on the bigger projects that have gone beyond the pilot scale. We're also looking for projects that have water quality benefits. As James alluded to earlier, the source control. If we can find a technology that will prevent those nutrients from getting into the water bodies, it is a much cheaper process than trying to get it out or to deal with the algal blooms after they've occurred. So that's a heavy area where we focus to find those innovative technologies. We're looking for projects that are ready to construct. We're looking for projects that we can get in the ground and operating within 18 months. We try to keep our grants within an 18-month from start to final report. It has proved challenging under the circumstances we're in. COVID proved very challenging to get some of the projects up and going, and then we had supply chain issues. So, but we've got a few of them that we're getting close to the end, which is great news, and we're moving on from that. And then lastly, one of our big funding considerations is we want to find a project that is an area that we know there's already a concern. So if there's a reasonable assurance plan or a basin management action plan in place, we want to put those projects there. We also look for areas where we know harmful algal blooms are recurring issues. For example, we've got Lake Jessup up in the St. Johns River Water Management District area. It's a lake that has constant algal blooms every year, similar to Lake Okeechobee. So we're looking for projects that are going to go and try to target some of those issues up there in those parts of the state. All right, next slide, please. So again, eligible projects, our funding is limited to grants and aids to local governments or government entities, and that does include academic institutions that are within the state university system. And we've had a very good success with many of our state universities, Florida State, FAMU, FGCU. We've got quite a few projects with those scientists there. Florida Atlantic, University of Central Florida. So we've had really good success with a lot of those institutions getting some projects in the ground and going. We also are allowed to partner with nonprofit organizations. This was a new thing for us, so we've only got one of those in place right now. Excuse me, two. I forgot. We got one this past year also. So we have two of those in place right now. It's kind of a newer area for us, but basically any entity that has taxing authority, we can get into in a relationship with them. For our nonprofits, we do try to focus on only those that are Florida-based nonprofits. It just makes things easier for us when it comes time to getting into a financial relationship with them. The one thing that we do deal with on a regular basis is we get a lot of vendors that come to us and they want us to fund their project directly. Unfortunately, that is not an option for us. Our funds come to us from the legislature, and there are restrictions that require us to go through those local government or government entities as defined in Florida Statute 287. So the project here you're seeing this picture, this is one of our first cycle, the 2019-2020 projects. It's a Northwest Florida Water Management District partnership with AECOM. This is their aquatic or their algal bloom harvester that they've developed. It's a unique process that they were the first company to demonstrate the DEP successful removal of algae from the water bodies mechanically without causing a rupture of the algal cells. The reason that's important is because the algae often will have, the cyanobacteria will have toxins within the cells. And we previously had worked with some folks that did some mechanical harvesting. We were thinking that that would be the best approach. You know, no chemicals, no biological treatments, but their systems weren't careful enough. And so when they rupture the cells, they release the toxins. AECOM successfully demonstrated the ability to remove those toxins or to prevent the release of those toxins. And now they're looking at evaluating how much nutrients they're actually taking out of the water bodies by their harvesting techniques. We've got two other projects with them. One, they have a water-based harvester that we're working with the St. Johns River Water Management District. And then the current year's funding, they're looking at expanding into the St. Lucie estuary or the Indian River Lagoon area. So we're going to test out their ability to remove algae from the waters within a saline or more saline environment to see if the end product is still a viable end product for them. Next slide, please. So again, from the 1920 and 21, through the 21-22 fiscal years, the last 3 years, we've received more than $20 million for the Innovative Technologies Program. With those funds, we've been able to fund 17 projects, and we've got 15 more that are currently in development. We're working to get into those grant agreements. So we've got quite a few that are active right now. Many of these, the initial 17, we're actually getting to the end, and hopefully we'll have some final reports that we'll be presenting to the Blue-Green Algae Task Force, or at least to Dr. Rains to present to the task force in the coming months. And hopefully we'll have some good success stories that we'll be able to provide to the state of Florida, as well as just lessons learned. I think that's one thing that we often lose. We all want to see these things work and be successful, but a lot of times through our failures, we learn a lot, and we learn better ways of doing things. So we also, a lot of our awards that we've received, we've gotten match dollars to go along with it. The municipalities or government entities have been able to provide additional funding to further the projects. And in doing so, that expanded our dollars by another $5.5 million for evaluating these projects. Match is not a requirement in our grant program. So if that is a showstopper for any of the government entities, we do not require it. It's just something we like to see when we can get it. For the upcoming fiscal year that will begin July 1, the legislature currently has a proposed budget of $15 million. Those funds, we're hoping to reach out to our grantees or potential grantees here within the month of May to go ahead and start the process for identifying new projects. And something that's unique this year, we received an additional $5 million from the legislature for red tide response work. Previously, the Innovative Technology Grant Program could also fund red tide response. And in a couple of years, we did have to provide some funding to counties for beach cleanup work associated with red tide. So this year, the legislature gave us an additional $5 million to help us out with that project. We still have the ability to use some of the 15 million for red tide response if we have a significant response in a given year. So that's good news that we're better positioned to respond, but hopefully we'll be able to use these innovative tech dollars specifically for our innovative tech program. Next slide, please. So currently, again, we only have 7 projects that are specifically focused on nutrient reduction. We have a lot of other, well, several other projects that have joint purposes, meaning they may be focused on algal bloom prevention, but they have a nutrient reduction component to it that are under evaluation right now. We're in the coming year, we're really going to focus to get, try to get more of these nutrient reductions, either source control projects or projects that can actually remove the nitrogen and phosphorus out of the water body. We have also pushed a lot of focus in the recent months towards those technologies that can predict or monitor where a bloom might occur. So we're exploring those opportunities and really kind of focusing that. That's based off of guidance we received from the Blue-Green Algae Task Force last year. And I'm sure we'll get updated guidance in the coming year. We just haven't had that yet. And then just to highlight this, the project pictured here, this is a Lee County project. It's a mesocosm that they've put in place, this is on South Florida Water Management District property at the BOMA site, just west of the Lake Okeechobee. It's right off the Caloosahatchee there, or C-43 canal. This project is a unique project in that they are taking natural systems that we know are effective at removing phosphorus, and they're exploring opportunities to supercharge them, if you will, to get them to target nitrogen, which is another nutrient problem that can result in or is attributed to harmful algal blooms. So we're really excited about this project. This is one that started in our 2nd year of funding, and hopefully we'll be wrapping it up soon and get some good results and maybe some additional studies to come. And I believe in this one, Lee County has partnered with FGCU to assist on this one. So this is a pretty exciting project here. Next slide, please. So where to apply? Our Innovative Technologies program works through the DEP portal for funding. It's found at the protectingfloridatogether.gov website. This is just a screenshot of that. It would be under the state action tab that's highlighted there. There's a section called grants. When you click on that, you get brought to this portal. This is where you find access to most of the funding that DEP will be putting forward. That would include the resilient funding, which is Resilient Florida funding, which is currently live and will be live until June 22nd. So it's out there. Innovative Tech should be going live within the next few weeks, where we had to clean up some information, make sure it all looks pretty, and then it will be going live, as well as our other wastewater grants, spring grants, water quality, which is basically our TMDL program. We received a lot of funding, and so there's a lot of opportunities available for different projects that could go towards nutrient reduction and address harmful algal blooms. Our funding is specific to that, but other programs could also be leveraged to address harmful algal blooms in the shape of nutrient reduction. When this does go live, there'll be a link similar to what's above in the Resilient Coastal that says, get started. And it will take you to an electronic portal. Next slide, please. So this is a screenshot of the very first page of the electronic portal. As you enter information, it will save it, and then it will let you go to the next page of the application once you have completed everything filled in, every field that's required. It is a pretty lengthy application, but because these are innovative technologies, there's a lot of kind of unknowns about them. So we do have a lot of questions that we're asking to kind of get to some basic information so we can start the evaluation process. We've made some updates to the portal this year in that you can actually print out your application. That was one of the problems we had last year. People would apply, but it wouldn't let them see their application. It just sent them a notice that said, "Hey, thanks for applying. Good job." But there wasn't any way for them to go back and look at it to make sure that everything they submitted was how they wanted. This year, you can actually print it out and see it after the fact or save a copy so you know exactly what you submitted at the time. The portal, when it is open, our intent is to have it open for about 60 days. So that would take us, if we open it in the next couple of weeks, it'll take us well into June or July before we actually close it and start evaluating the projects. We typically work with Dr. Rains or whomever's the chief science officer to help us with that evaluation process. We rank them, go through, write up the pros and cons of these, and then work through DEP's leadership and Dr. Rains to fully evaluate these projects before putting them forward for funding opportunities. Next slide, please. So again, our portal is found at the Protecting Florida Together website. It's protectingfloridatogether.gov. That's where all of our funding opportunities at DEP are available, or all of them in the ecosystem grouping are available. If you have questions, you can email me directly, or you can use this email address here, the inntech_hab@floridadep.gov. This is where we manage all of our grants. We have staff on our payroll that manage this website or this email address, and they have a requirement to respond within 1 business day. So if you don't get a response, please reach out to me, but they should be responding pretty quickly. We've been able to hire some great employees that are quite knowledgeable on harmful algal blooms, and I think it's been a big boom to our program. And with that, I will open the floor to questions.
Hey, this is Roland. How you doing?
Doing great, Roland. Good to hear from you.
Good presentation. A little bit of issues with local governments of being the, I guess, the manager of these. It's a lot in Lee County when we have the algae bloom. It's somewhat of an event, and bringing on vendors in short order is kind of challenging, and actually applying for a grant, then getting funds and bringing them in. I imagine a lot of the ones that you have throughout the state are addressing chronic algae bloom areas, lakes and such, but many of ours were, event driven. We'll get some small amount in different locations, but it would be nice if the state had a pool of technologies that they want to investigate that we could deploy in areas that are suffering a bloom, that you could basically have a direct contract with them once they're pre-approved through the state, instead of trying to do it individually.
Yeah, no, I hear you, and we're actually working on that. We currently have 2 state term contracts for companies that can do algal bloom cleanup. We're working on getting additional contracts here in the next couple of months. We've got 5 additional vendors that we have evaluated, most of them through the Innovative Technology Program. So they've gone through this kind of rigorous grant permit process that we have. The idea that we're going to go moving forward, so I'm glad you brought this up, is as we evaluate and we have the appropriate comfort level of vendors that go through the Innovative Tech, we're going to work to get them under these state term contracts. The state term contracts are piggyback, meaning that any local government can grab these off the shelf and apply it wherever there is a bloom. If funding is available for us, DEP, to address a bloom, we certainly would do that. We're working with all of our water management districts, but specifically this year, we're really focusing on South Florida and St. Johns River Water Management Districts. They are actually assisting us with getting these state term contracts under, well, the vendors under state term contracts. So we've got a lot of technical people helping us to make sure we're going to get good vendors under projects that will produce positive results for the state of Florida and without any negative ecological outcomes.
Perfect. Thanks.
Thanks, Roland. Good questions. Do we have any other questions? All right. Thank you, Ed. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. We're going to move on to our next agenda item 12,